Hey everybody, welcome back. This is a follow-up video to the one that we just did, which was building a little Twitter app with Node that will show you people you're following that don't follow you back. If you missed the first one, I recommend going and watching it first. You can find it at codeplanet.io or on my YouTube channel. But otherwise, we're going to jump in. So where we left off last time was we had this app and you can run Node on it. And it returns an array of objects, and all they have in them is the person's full name, their screen name, their @handle, and then their profile avatar. So today what I wanted to do was go ahead and add a little bit of like a web layer on top of it, so that you could kind of have a website where you could go to and just show people, like you could type in any name you want, and you could get back their list. So go ahead and clear this. And right now, just a refresher, all we really have is this index.js file, which has our Twitter API keys, and then it kind of gets all of our followers, gets all of our following, and then, makes a list of people that are in one but not in the other. Then it takes that list of user IDs and it gets all the actual user objects back, and then it creates this new little objects with just the name, screen name, and avatar, and then finally has them all. So we're just going to add like a little bit of an express layer and kind of clean it up a little bit. And so let's go ahead and do that together. So the web framework I'm going to use, just because it's the one I'm most familiar with, is Express.js. They have a bunch of great tutorials and stuff on their site, which is expressjs.com. But we're going to go ahead and just get started with it. I also do have a series on my YouTube channel of getting up and running with Express, so you can check that out as well if you'd like. So first thing I'm going to do is npm install express --save. So that'll go out and it's going to get all the required packages. And then the only update that we're going to see is a small update to the package.json, which if we do a git diff on, just adds express as a dependency. So I'll do git add, git commit, adding express. Okay. And then let's go into our index.js file. So I think what I want to do, kind of thinking this out as I'm going, but is probably make a new file for now and call it like user list.js or something like that. We might change that later. And I'm just going to pull like all this stuff out and put it in here, because really index.js now needs to become our Express app, like our actual web app. And it needs to just call into this user.list. So let's go ahead and instantiate Express. Require Express. And then with Express, there's always a thing that we'll want to do. We'll do like var app, and then that equals this Express. Require Express returns a function, and then your application is running that function. So this is just always how Express apps look. Sometimes you'll see people, this is just a little bit of an aside, they'll do something like var app equals require express like this. I just think it's a little bit cleaner. Require the thing and then call it. However you want to do it is fine. Okay, so let's start off and we'll do our very first route. So we'll do app.get, the home route here. And then there's a callback function which has a request and a response object. And I think for now we'll just let's do like res.send hello world, something like that. So we'll just start off with a really simple example, and then last but not least we'll do var server equals, I think it's like app.listen. You give it a port, anything you want, and then it takes a callback function, and then this is just what happens on success. So you can do like console log our application is running at, and let's give it localhost 3000 for now. We can change this stuff later. But so if I go back now and I do a node dot, it should say our application is running, and then if you click on that, it should say hello world. Okay, so that's really basic. So the next thing that we'll want to do is trying to think this out. So we want to basically reach into this user list method. Let me clean up these comments. And instead of console logging, we'll want to render probably a view with these users to display. So let us, I guess first let's set up some views. So I'm going to use Jade just because it's kind of like the most well documented. It's the one that comes on the Express documentation. So I'm going to do npm install jade -- save. And then what you'll want to do is, after this downloads, or I guess even while this is going, before we start our routes, we can do app set and then set the view engine. Again, if you're not familiar with this, it's all really well documented on expressjs.com. So we'll set that to be Jade. And let's go see how this is doing. Looks good. So git status, git add a, git commit, and I'll just say something like, move or turning index into Express app, something like that. Okay, cool. So we've got Jade as a view engine now. So then we'll want to make a folder called views, and let's put a Jade file in there. Call it index.jade. And then let's just do like hello world this way and make sure that this is working. So instead of send, now we can call res.render, and instead of some text, we'll call the name of the view. So it's like the file name without the .jade. So if we go ahead and start this, let's see how we're looking, and then go to localhost 3000. Okay, so we see hello world again, but now it's actually coming from this index.jade. So if I switch it to from Jade, we see from Jade. Okay, sweet. So we've got that stuff going. It seems good. So basically what we'll want is like, I don't know, I guess like a really simple index page that is just a form or something like that. And then like maybe that form, you can put in an @ handle or like a username, and it'll post to an endpoint, which will get all the users, and then it'll return them to you. Let's build it that way for now, because I think that'll be cool. Okay, so we'll have like our index.jade file. It's got HTML, it's got a head tag, title. I still haven't named this. Follow back list. I don't know what I'm gonna call it. We'll figure that out later. Might have some CSS here. Let's see if we need any. And then we'll have our body. And our body will have a form here. Hello. Okay, cool. So we're looking good here. I think just for the sake of kind of going quickly and making it look good, I'm going to introduce Bootstrap as a dependency. I think they have like their own CDN you can just link to. Yeah. I'm just going to add these Bootstrap styles just to make things look nice right away, so we can kind of skip the design phase and just start, working with our application logic. So in Jade, you can do links with, I think all you have to do is rel equals style sheet, and then href equals whatever you want. So let's go back here. That looks like Bootstrap's coming down now. Okay, so then in our body, we can do the form pretty easily. Like maybe we want to make a new row. And put in like, I don't know, a column of like 6, which is also like offset by 3. So that'll like kind of give us some centered, like if we did h1 hello now, we would see it kind of nice and, nope, not working. Did I do row, column, medium 6? Why isn't that working? Actually does look good. Give me 1 second here to try to figure this out. Oh yeah, I see. I did call. Oh, yeah. I wanted to do offset by 3, not call 3. Still not working. Class column 6 inside a row. I wonder if we're not getting. I see some Bootstrap.css stuff happening, but I don't see it being applied to the row. But I see it being applied to the font. Give me 1 minute. Let's figure this out. Inside the body, we've got a div with a class of row, and yeah, grid framework.less. All right. Here we go. We are seeing some stuff. Column medium 6. Let's see. I'm not sure why this isn't working. ideally you would see, there it goes, right? So weird. I think maybe, I wonder if it was just because I was zoomed in so much. Yeah, okay. I think it was just when I zoomed in that much to, show everybody watching the video, I kind of lost some of the styles. Okay, cool. So we have this 6-column thing, and it's centered in the middle of the screen. So that's where we'll put our form. Okay, so instead of this h1 tag, we'll have like a form tag. It'll have an action, which will be like, I don't know, like get users or something like that, and it'll have a method, which will be post. Okay, and then we'll have like, let's see, we'll have an input type of text, right? We'll give it a name for now. I'm not sure if we'll need it, like handle. And then we'll give it a placeholder, enter name, something like that. And then the last thing we'll need is input type equals submit, and then give that a value. Like get users, something like that. Go ahead and refresh. Okay, cool. So we see this little form here where we can enter a name and get some users, and it'll post to an endpoint we don't have yet. So that's fine. I might actually go in and add, like an h1, follow back list, right? Make that look a little nicer. I think you can do something like text center on this, and then I think you can add to these, like I think there's a class that's like form control or something. Wonderful. Okay, great. And then I always get a little bit distracted with the styles. That doesn't look good. Button primary or something. Excellent. Okay, so we've got our little h1. We've got our form that we'll enter a name in, and then we've got this big blue button. It looks pretty good. Okay, sweet. So now what we'll want to do is we'll want to build the actual endpoint, because we know we're going to get a post request, and that's going to come into get users. And now we need a function to define what happens there. So let's think about it for a second. So we're going to get this post, and it's going to have, like the one thing that we know is that it's going to have the username that gets sent in, right? So we can do, like var screen name equals, and then I think it's like the request body will have it. And we gave our field an ID of something, of handle. So let's just try this real quick. Make sure we're on the right path here. So if I kill the server and restart it, and then I head over here, and then I type in foobar, cannot read property handle of undefined. Okay, so it looks like rec.but. Oh, I remember. Okay, this is interesting. So in order to get to be able to parse the request body, Express split that out into another application. They call them, I think it's like Express.js middleware or something like that. This is a good site to check out because it's like a lot of stuff that used to be built in. They've separated out, I think maybe just to make the total product a lot lighter. So we'll need to install that separately. So I think it's like npm install body parser. And then this is what will allow us to, whenever you're sending forms around, to go ahead and grab the stuff out of there. So we also need to include that. So var body parser equals require body parser. I always like to keep these even. I'm really not sure why. It just makes me feel better when they're all nice and even. And then there's like one other thing. Let's see if I can find it. Body express body parser. Okay, so here's the library. There's like one other step. So you install it, you require it. My goodness, there's a lot of documentation. That's awesome. But okay, yeah, right. So then we do another app use on it. Cool, app use body parser. Great. So now that we have it, I think if we go ahead and try running the app again, Going to 3000 again, typing in foobar again. Okay, now this time, okay, great. So now this time, if you can see here, it just logs out foobar, which is what we wanted because we're logging out the screen name. That's awesome. So instead of console logging it this time, let's do something like, okay, so we have this users list. So let's go ahead and require that, like var user list equals require, and then this local file user list. Okay, so now we can kind of like call it. So I think what we'd like to be able to do eventually, right, is something like var users, like this will be what we'll send to the view file, which we'll get into in a minute, equals, and then we would like send the screen name into user list. Something like that. So that I think would be like a cool way to be able to do it. But in order to get that figured out, I think we're going to have to go into user list and turn it, like right now it's just a file. And what we want to do is we want to turn it into a function that can actually be, be called to return something. Because like here, we're calling it like it's a function. So in order to do that, you can just wrap it in a module exports, which is pretty nice. So you can do something like module exports. So this file, when required, will export what? It'll export a function, which takes in that screen name. So then we kind of move all of these goodies inside this function. So now instead of just parsing all this, it'll return an anonymous function with all this in it, and then at any time you want, you can call that anonymous function with the screen name, which is what we're doing. So that should be good. And then instead of setting screen name to jcoop for every time, now we should be able to set it to the screen name that is coming in from the request. That seems good to me. So I guess let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Why not? Let's see where we're at. So we run it with Node. We go back to 3000. We enter jcoop. And here we go. All right, so now we're seeing it console logged out those same users that I follow that don't follow me back. Bunch of sweet JavaScript people. Okay, cool. So then like the last thing I'm gonna do for now, I think I'm gonna make another video for like refactoring and adding tests and things like that. But just to kind of like a quick and dirty workaround, so it's not too long, we can actually render the view from inside here. But in order to do that, we need to pass in the response object as well. So we'll take a response object and a screen name, and then over here in index.js, we'll send in the response object from here and the screen name. And then basically all we can do is instead of console logging, we can go ahead and call response.render. We'll make a new template called, I don't know, list or something like that. And then we will send in, like a list of users, which will be those users to what we were console logging a minute ago. Cool, so we'll render that. So now the last thing we need to do is make a new file, call it list.jade. So this is going to be like our Jade file that has, the actual list on it that we'll render out. Maybe in the next video we can mess with Jade layouts because this is going to be repeated code, right? Like we've already got all this here, but I think it's okay for right now. Follow back list, I'll do that again. I'm actually just going to grab most of this stuff. So let's just grab all that for now, which obviously should be separated out into something. So we've got this. Instead of follow back list, like the people that don't follow you back, I don't know, something like that. We can get more creative down the road. Okay, so now we know that we've got this users object being passed in. So what we can do here is we can make like an unordered list, and then inside that unordered list we can iterate through each user in users. That's just Jade syntax. And then we can do something like, let's just do for now div of user.screenName. Let's just kind of see where we're at. I'm going to go ahead and restart this app. Go back to 300, put my username in. And okay, that was wrong. 1 second here. Oh yeah, right. So the way Jade knows to differentiate between actual like the text user dot and the variable user is with an equal sign. So instead of div user, we want to do div is set to user screen name. May confirm form submission. Awesome. So we're seeing this list, right? And you can kind of imagine an @ handle between any of these. Right now, you can go to twitter.com/any of those, and you see the person, which is Christian Hillman. Sweet. Okay, we're getting really close here. So I guess we can do something like, maybe make like the whole thing clickable. Let me play with this for a second. So what if we had like an anchor, and it had an href, which went to https://twitter.com/ and then we add in that user screen name, which could be kind of cool. Like I showed you, it'll just go directly there. And then we have like maybe inside that anchor, we've got like an image, and the source of that image is user.avatar, like we had coming from here, avatar. And then we also have their real name or their full name. So we could do maybe a span here, and we could call that, set that equal to user.name. Something along those lines. And then maybe, I guess, one more span here. All right, let's just see what we're working with there. Okay, that's kind of a mess, but it's cool, right? So you see like Kent Dodd's picture, and then you see his name next to it, and the whole thing's linkable. I think Bootstrap has something cool like a, what are they, list groups? Just to try to make something nice looking right away. Here they are, list groups. Okay, so we want to give the UL a class of list group. And then each item, the class of list group item. And let's refresh this again. Boom. All right, starting to look really good. I think like the last little problem is that the full name and the handle blur together. I get a little bit tripped up with this kind of like procedural stuff in Jade sometimes, but I think like the best way I found to do it is kind of nesting spans together. So like if after the username, maybe we have like another span which just has like an @ sign in it, and then we put the screen name in like this. I think that should kind of do more what we want, right? So you get this like @ sign all the time. And then, I don't know, if we wanted to, like we could give this like something, like a class or something like that. We could style it. But anyway, so these should all go to the user when you click on it. It's pretty cool. You get this nice list here of people. And then, yeah, should be pretty good to go. So if you, I don't know, like put in somebody, like I think maybe like Horse.js probably doesn't follow anybody that doesn't follow them. So we don't really account for that, right? User results for each is not a function. So, there's obviously a lot we could do, and we could clean up a lot of this stuff. But I think that's like good for now, just showing, this kind of cool web app that we've made together where you can put anybody's username in and see who it is that's not following them back. Cool. Hope you enjoyed it.